So we are beginning with a tablespoon of melted butter in our measuring cup. You could use a small bowl if you prefer, but I do like the spout on my measuring cup. So that is 1 tablespoon of melted butter. And to this we are going to add the rest of our wet ingredients. So I would like 1 tablespoon of heavy cream. You could use half and half or almond milk. It doesn't have to be heavy cream, but that's what I'm using. We're going to need 1 egg. And I'm going to give that a stir and break up our egg. It's important to make sure that when you have melted your butter in the microwave that you don't immediately add your egg. Try and add your heavy cream first, because that will assist in cooling down the butter. Because if it's not tempered, you could end up curdling or basically scrambling your egg. So definitely either let your butter cool or add your cream or almond milk or whatever you're going to add to kind of cool out the temperature of your butter so that you don't scramble your egg. Then the next step, I am going to add 1 tablespoon of Torani sugar-free caramel coffee syrup. You could just use vanilla extract if you wanted in this step, or you could add some other flavor, but I feel like the caramel really gives this pecan pie flavor to our mug cake. So I've got all of our wet ingredients here. So now we are going to start adding our dry ingredients. We're going to begin with almond flour, and you need 2 tablespoons. So there's 1 and 2. You also need 2 tablespoons of coconut flour. There's 1 and 2. You're also going to need sweetener. I'm going to be using Sucrin Gold for this because using a brown sugar alternative or a brown sugar natural sweetener is very good in keeping with the theme of our pecan pie. So Swerve makes a brand. If you don't have this, you could just use another sugar alternative, but I really do feel like this makes a difference in the flavor. And I want 2 tablespoons of this as well. And then our final dry ingredient is going to be baking powder, and I want 1/2 teaspoon, and this is going to act as our leavening agent, giving us the puffiness of a cake. And then you just want to stir everything together, and you're going to have to stir it for a little bit because it will start out clumpy, and you want to make sure that you get everything well incorporated. Making sure you're scraping the sides and the bottom. You don't want any pockets of leavening or pockets of uncooked almond flour. Okay, we can see now that our batter is nice and creamy, and that's what we want. Okay, I'm going to be using a ramekin for this step. You could use a mug because it is a mug cake, and you need to grease it. So I'm just using avocado oil spray. And then I'm going to put 1/2 of this mixture into our ramekin because this recipe makes 2 mug cakes. So about like so. And I'm going to microwave this. I'm going to microwave mine for about 1 minute and 30 seconds. Depending on the wattage of your microwave will determine how long you will cook this mug cake. So if you have a microwave that is 1100 watts or stronger, you should be able to cook this in about 1 minute to 1 minute and 30 seconds. If you have a lower wattage microwave or a microwave that's smaller, you might need to go as much as 3 minutes. So just keep checking it. You'll know it's done because it will spring back like a cake that you've baked in the oven. You can also do mug cakes in the oven, generally at about 350 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes. So you would cook it just like you would a regular cake and check for doneness and keep an eye on it. You could also do this in a toaster oven the same way. So you can see that it's done. It springs back and it has pulled away from the outer edge of the ramekin, and that is what we want. I'm going to set that aside. So you're going to need for the topping 4 tablespoons of butter, and we are going to melt this. Okay, we have our melted butter, and remember that this topping that I'm making right now is going to be for 2 mug cakes, but I'm going to be making all my topping at the same time, even though we've only cooked 1 mug cake so far. So I'm going to put that in a small bowl. We're going to need pecans, of course, because this is a pecan pie mug cake. I have measured out 2 ounces of pecans. And these are my beloved butter roasted pecans that I do myself. We'll link the recipe for that in the description box or up in the eye. And I'm going to give these a chop. You don't want them to be too terribly fine because you want to be able to see that these are indeed pecans and not too powdered up, because you do want to be able to taste the big chunks of pecan. So I'm just going to give them a rough chop. They are nice and crunchy. Okay. So I'm going to add those to my bowl with the butter. Now we're going to need 2 tablespoons of the Sucrin Gold, which is the brown sugar substitute, once again. There's 1 and 2. And then we are going to add 2 more tablespoons of our sugar-free caramel syrup. So there's 2 tablespoons. Going to give that a good stir so it's made a nice beautiful syrup to go over our mug cake, which is going to give it lots of moisture. So our mug cake has had a second to cool. I'm going to remove it from the ramekin and put it on a plate. Take a little bit for it to come out, and it is quite warm, so definitely be careful. There it goes. Okay, so it's nice and porous and it should be ready to receive our toppings. So I'm going to cut it so I can spread it out on the plate like so to receive all of our toppings. And I'm just going to start spooning this on, letting the drizzle come down onto our cake. So if you would like to finish it off, you could put some heavy whipped cream on there for presentation. That would be very good, and it would be also in keeping with the pecan pie is having a little bit of whipped cream on the top. That's just totally personal preference. So here we go. Here is our pecan pie mug cake.